Hello everyone and welcome to another video, and this video is going to be called Not My Circus, Not My Monkeys. So this is an important video that I highly encourage everybody to go through at least once, especially if you've dealt with difficult people. If you've ever dealt with people that you have trouble saying no to, people who you find have some sort of a pattern or a hold on you. The moment they're around, you just can't say no. You don't feel empowered to say no. You don't feel empowered to speak your voice or your truth. Well, this video is for you. So recently in my own life, I've been kind of going through this journey of myself, mastering communication, mastering leadership, mastering teamwork, going through different layers of neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, tying it all together and distilling it all down so that all my clients can benefit. Now, one of the areas that I always live by is unconditional love. You always hear me teaching about this, talking about this. Every time I work with a client, I train them and help them for their brain to step into a state of unconditional love because it is a powerful resource state. Unconditional love, personal responsibility, generosity, leading with kindness, right? All of these are valuable resources, and I always lead from a place of that. I step into a place of generosity, empathy, kindness, compassion whenever I work with anyone. However, there are going to be people in your life who will try to take advantage of a situation. I've worked with clients in the past where I have had to fire them because they took advantage of my kindness. They tried to scam, or they tried to renegotiate terms of either paying me less or not showing up to a session, or trying to demand that I would have to give them free sessions because they didn't, because I'm overcharging, or because I'm not giving them the value for free. Some people just want things for free, and you just have to understand that that is a mind virus in and of itself. That is that something for nothing mind virus. Stay away from people like that. Don't do business with people like that. So again, I'm always encouraging people to be kind, compassionate, generous, taking responsibility, having integrity, paying it forward. I do stuff for free, so you shouldn't be asking me for free one-on-ones if you are not willing to take some sort of personal responsibility for your finances, or at least be willing to be coachable, right? So I've encountered people in my life who do try to take advantage of people's kindness. And what do you do in those situations, right? For a person like me, I struggled for a long time with people who take advantage of people's kindness in relationships, with family, with friends, things like that. I used to struggle with this. Now, there are ploys you have to be mindful of in order to break this pattern. So I will lay them out for you one by one. There is fear ploys, right? So maybe somebody will tell you if they want something from you and you don't want to do it. And it's not because you're a bad person, but you just know that you shouldn't do something. Maybe somebody will play the fear ploy on you and they'll say, you wouldn't want people to find out the truth about yourself, would you? You wouldn't want them to find the truth out about how you overcharged me on this thing, would you? I'm doing you a favor. Just return this and give this to me for free, right? That's a fear ploy. They're trying to use fear. And what's the fear there? The fear of lost business in the future. It's a fear of other people judging you, a fear of getting a lower rating, right? On maybe Yelp, maybe you own a store or something like that, right? Or a lower ranking system, right? Fear ploy. Another ploy that people use as manipulators is obligation. So for example, you would say something like, the right thing to do would be to help your family members out going through this difficult time, right? So there's a sense of obligation. Why? Because you fit into a community, maybe it's a family, maybe it's a business, and so you are obligated by who you are and your standing to help this person. You don't have a choice. Notice that, right? Another one that you might hear is guilt, right? Guilt ploys are maybe they're playing to your religious beliefs, right? So I'm a Christian, and so people sometimes do that. Well, they'll say, you should do this for me, or you should do that for me, because that's what the Bible says, because that's what a good Christian would do. A good Christian would take this person in and let them stay at their home for free, because that's what a Christian would do, right? A guilt ploy. Notice that, right? Another one that's really, really paralyzing for a lot of people, this one was paralyzing for me, is a shame ploy, right? So the shame ploy goes like this. It's more of like, I can't believe you. You're such a liar. And you cheated me out of this. You broke this. You did that. And so I'm just going to just wait till everyone hears about what I have to say about you, right? And this is the shame ploy. And the shame ploy, it brings a lot of fear as well, and you are the bad guy regardless, and you are in fear and in a sense of shame, humiliation, embarrassment, because this person is going to badmouth you publicly to all your circle or network, right? And this is another manipulation tactic that they use. It's a form of emotional extortion, right? Another variation of this is another manipulation tactic is playing the victim card, right? Sometimes you'll see people just constantly depressed, or they're constantly in a bad mood. And this is why I encourage you all to be mindful of who's in your circle, because when you're around certain people and somebody is just constantly negative, they're constantly bringing you down, that is affecting your spirit, your energy, your ability to enact change in your environment. If you do not feel that you have the ability to enact change, to transform your environment, chances are there's some sort of energy vampire or situation siphoning energy out. You're getting depleted by somebody within your inner circle. Be very mindful of this, right? So, an example of this would be somebody who's just always moping around and just constantly looking sad and depressed, and they just say, I don't know why this is happening to me. I must be cursed. And they just keep pleading with you and pleading with you and talking your head off. And then out of obligation, you feel, oh, well, this is my dear friend. I should probably help them in this situation. Otherwise, what does that mean about me as a friend if I don't do that and help them? This is the victim mentality kind of ploy. Pay attention to the ploys that people use around you. You want to tighten up your inner circle. I'm not saying that you have to cut out everybody. I'm not saying get rid of all your friends, but do take inventory of this. There are people that are on your path that are trying to go with you and help amplify the direction that you're going. If you're looking for financial freedom, if you're looking for financial breakthrough, if you're looking for healthy, happy relationships, you hang out with certain types of people, right? So for example, when there's that expression where it says your salary or your income is the sum of the 5 closest friends that you have, right? And that is very true. And that's why I typically work with a lot of people who are mentors or millionaires or even higher, because I know that if I stay in their circle, it's their good habits, their good beliefs, their good thoughts are going to rub off on me, right? In the same way, think about relationships too, right? If you are in a happy, committed relationship, does it really serve you to hang out with people who are degenerates and who are like very, very degenerates as single people? I'm not saying all single people are degenerates, obviously not, right? But I'm saying if you are in a happy, committed relationship and you have friends who are just constantly partying all the time or going to strip clubs all the time, how is that going to help your relationship ethos, right? How is that going to help, right? You have to be very mindful of the people that you surround yourself with, right? Even when working with your health. This is why I also tell you, if your doctor is obese, if your doctor has serious medical problems and they're seriously overweight, you got to fire them. Work with people who are trying to go the direction you're going, right? My medical doctors, I've had to switch out of all of them. They all have diabetes, high blood pressure, all of this stuff. I'm only working with people who are going in the direction I'm going. All of my medical professionals that I'm getting advice from, they're all at like 8% or 5% body fat, and they have none of these health problems. So I'm very, very critical of who I listen to, who is in my circle, who I'm surrounding myself with, who I'm getting advice from. And also be mindful of who you share what you're learning, right? Not everybody is meant to learn the advice that you're getting. So when I share my financial goals, I try to encourage you all in this group, but I'm also very vigilant of who I'm sharing this with. There is a ton of haters out there. I don't share with them the financial breakthroughs I'm having because I'm very selective of who I share this with or who I work with. Now, I want to share a very, very impactful book, and I'm going to tie this all together about, dealing with people who are manipulators, right? And dealing with them in a powerful way. So one of the books that was very, very influential in my early formative years in my 20s, right, was a book by a man named Adam Grant, and you can find this book on Amazon. It's called Give and Take, and it's the study of success from the lens of givers and takers. And Adam, um, he identifies historical figures who fit within these molds, and he identifies three of them. Right? There's givers, there's takers, and then there's what he calls matchers. Now, if I explain this, givers are people who just give and they give and they give and they give and they give. Takers are people who just take. And then matchers are people who they observe, what did this person give me? And I'll give them just as much as they gave me, right? There's a point scoring kind of system going on with the matchers. Now, he did very, very thorough studies on givers, matchers, and takers, and givers, takers, and matchers, and he saw where do they fit in the spectrum of success. Where do you think people would be, right? Now, there's people who have this utopian dream of like what society should look like, and they would say obviously the giver should be on the top of the totem pole. But then you also have people that are a little more pragmatic, and they look at all these millionaires and billionaires and they're very critical, and they're saying like, how come they're not helping more people, right? And so there's a paradox here. So which is it? Which one actually brings you success? Is it the giving? Is it the taking? Is it the matching? Which one is it that really gives you success? So if you go through this book, you'll see a chart that he kind of lays out, and you'll see that the people at the bottom of the success are givers. Now, tough, right? Like you might be wondering, why are you teaching me to be so giving if we're at the bottom? I'll explain. So givers are actually at the bottom, and what they found is that givers who just give and give and give and give and give and give and give, they tend to get burned out. People tend to emotionally take advantage of them, financially and resource-wise take advantage of them, and they don't get very high up because they're just seen as easy targets, right? Then the next level up are your matchers. Interesting, right? So the matchers are the people who they give when somebody gives to them, but they're very, very vigilant and cautious of how much the person's giving and how much they should give back, right? Maybe you've been in relationships with people like this where they're like very cautious about like, oh, well, you didn't do this, so why would I do that for you, right? So that can be one type of person as well, and they're a little bit higher than the first group, which was the givers. Then even higher than them are the takers, right? So the takers are actually higher up on the success pole, and you see them, and the reason why they're so successful is because one, they know when to strategically give to the matchers so that they get matched back, and they know when to just blindly take from the givers. So they're getting all the resources from the givers who are at the beginning. They're getting all whatever they can from the matchers, and they're just very, very strategic at taking, right? So this might be a depressing kind of analogy that I'm drawing out for you as I'm sharing this topic about givers, matchers, and takers, because we're so hardwired into thinking that givers are the people that should be at the top, right? And they are, right? So they are. They are also, there's another subset even higher than the takers that is even better. And this is another group of givers. Now, what separates the first group of givers who are at the bottom of the rung from the givers at the top of the success? Well, Adam Grant goes into this and he gives many, many examples. What he shares is that the givers at the bottom have no boundaries. They just give and 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 give, and they get burned out and they get taken advantage of. Then you had the matchers and the takers, and then you have another group of givers. And what sets this group of givers apart is that they have healthy, strong boundaries. They know when to give to the givers, they know when to give and build relationship with the matchers. They know how to work with takers in a way where takers cannot go beyond a certain threshold of taking. They know when to strategically work with takers, but they themselves are givers. They are natural givers. They just like to give. They like to help. They like to work with people. I strongly encourage you to get into a practice of serving or paying it forward or helping people. This is why I advocate for this. However, just because we're stepping into giving and generosity and paying it forward and this type of idea, like I mentioned, you will encounter people who are takers. So what do you do in those situations with takers, manipulators, energy vampires, right? Those types of people, the toxic people. How do you deal with them? Maybe they're in a relationship with you. Maybe they're in your family. Maybe they're business partners. Maybe they are loved ones that you've had around for a long time. So I just wanted to throw a couple of ideas out for you that I have really distinguished for myself, and this is what I honor, right? So for me, part of my life values is generosity. Part of my life values is unconditional love and compassion and kindness. I am living, breathing, and walking through that example of life, right? And I think most people would say that. However, when I work with people, when I am in relationships with people, when I am dealing with family members and friends and loved ones and things like that, I also am taking inventory of a few things. The first one is respect and appreciation. So, what I mean by that is there a mutual respect between me and the other person? Is there a mutual appreciation between me and the other person? Think about that. Do they find your time, energy, resources valuable? Do they say it? Do they communicate it? Do they show it? Maybe it's through a gift. Maybe it's through quality time. Maybe they're trying to help you out in some way because you helped them all that time ago, right? Is there a mutual respect? Do they communicate it that, yes, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that you helped give me this ride. I'm so grateful that you did this for me. Or are they ungrateful? Or are they disrespectful? Or are they entitled, right? That's the opposite side. You want to take inventory of that, right? Is there a mutual respect and appreciation between you and this other party? Or is there an ungratefulness, a disrespect, and a feeling of entitlement? If there is any of that, cut it off, right? If there is a mutual respect and appreciation, you're cultivating a great relationship there, right? Now, the second thing I always keep track of with people is this idea called reciprocity, right? So reciprocity. Now, the way I actually heard about this word, it may not be used a lot for a lot of people. Maybe you've heard it in a real estate setting. That's where I heard it when I was taking real estate classes years and years ago. I heard about this idea where realtors in one state could have reciprocity with another state, meaning that let's say you are a realtor in Virginia. Well, if you have reciprocity between Virginia and Florida, then maybe you can also close deals in Florida with the support of another broker, right? Maybe I don't have that idea exact, but that's the general gist of it, where there is a mutual understanding of respect and there's a willingness to help one another because there is a strong rapport and a strong connection there, right? So there is give and take going in both directions. It's not just take on one side, it's not just take on the other side. It's not just give on one side and just receive on the other, and give on this side and just receive on the other, but there's a mutual give and take. You can ask this person for help and they're willing to help, right? So I pay attention to those two things, right? Respect and appreciation being there mutually. Um, and then conversely, is there a disrespect? Is there a sense of entitlement? Is there a is there any sort of coercion going on, something like that, right? I pay attention to those things. And I also pay attention to reciprocity. How much have I contributed to this person's life? And how much do they try to contribute back to me? I'm not saying they have to go tit for tat. I'm not saying that they have to go blow for blow. I'm not saying any of that. And I'm not even keeping, like, I'm not saying, like, if I pay for this person's dinner, that they have to pay me back the next dinner. I'm just saying, like, do they appreciate it? Is there a sense of, like, if I help them in some capacity, that they're willing to help me? A willingness, right? That's what we're talking about with reciprocity and mutual respect. So I want you to think about how that applies to relationships now, right? So let's say you're a man and you are the financial provider, then what are you expecting in a terms of mutual respect and reciprocity from the woman? Maybe she is cooking and cleaning. Maybe she's your emotional support. Maybe she is encouraging you, right? Like cheering you on in your goals and your dreams. And maybe you're collaborating together, right? Maybe that's what that looks like for the man. Now, if you're the woman, like think about it on the other side, right? Maybe you are the financial provider. Maybe you are more, maybe you are the caregiver or like the homemaker in the family, right? Maybe you're the mother. Maybe that's what that looks like. But on the other hand, is that man stingy, right? So if you're doing all these things to help with the family, is that man stingy or is that man generous financially, right? You want to make sure that there is a solid give and take. It doesn't have to be equal in terms of money for money. It could be emotions for this or this for that or this for that. It's a the whole point of this is a mutual exchange, right? A reciprocity and a mutual respect that has to be there. Without the respect, the relationship can fall apart. Without the reciprocity, the relationship can also fall apart. This applies to business. This applies to any sort of relationship, right? Like I said, when I work with medical professionals, if they're not in better health than me, why do I go to them for advice? Because of their book knowledge? No, they have to be a demonstration of what they are giving out as advice. So if I'm working with a doctor, or I'm working with a functional medicine practitioner or an acupuncturist, I'm expecting them to be in better health, more robust health than I am. Otherwise, I'm just not going to take their advice, right? So you want to make sure that you're cultivating this idea of mutual respect, honor, right? You want to make sure that there is no disrespect, that there is no um, depreciation of resources and things like that, right? They have to respect and appreciate your time, your energy, and your resources, right? They should not be entitled. And also make sure that reciprocity is there. Now, one of the things that I mentioned to you is sometimes you're going to find people who don't follow these rules, right? And they are just being difficult, right? I've worked with clients who I'm, sometimes usually the first session I do with somebody is free. And then from there, we just determine whether we want to get into a working agreement and we set the terms, right? And I set boundaries and I set guidelines. And then we determine what are your goals? Where are you now? Where do you want to be in 6 months, right? And sometimes people just feel entitled because, they had a good session with me, that they should be able to get a session for free, right? Or they should be able to do this for free. And I just tell them flat out, like, look, if I'm prompted to do that, I will certainly help in certain situations. If I'm not, I will make it very clear, look, I don't have all the time in the world, so I only have capacity for this amount of clients, right? So one one of the first things you have to just realize is just be okay with saying no, right? So what happens when you say no to a person? If you say, you know what, this isn't going to work out. Maybe you should go find another coach. Maybe you should go find another service provider. Maybe you should go find somebody else to be your realtor, right? You can always say that, but you have to be okay with the fallout. You have to be okay with what they will say next, right? So um, in a relationship, right? So like if there's a breakup, if you are going to initiate a breakup, you have to be okay with the fallout from the breakup, right? If you're leaving your job, you have to be okay with having these conversations with your boss about, it's been great working here, but this is going to be my final 2 weeks. I appreciate everything you've done for me. And let's see what we can do to make this last 2 weeks a good transition, right? So you want to be okay with the fallout. Now, emotionally, this might be where a lot of your mindset blocks are happening. This was it for me, especially in relationships. I would drag on relationships a little too long because I was afraid of the breakup, right? Even in work engagements, I would stay too long because I was afraid of putting my notice in. What would they think about me? What if I just stick it out? What if I just make things better, right? The people pleasing aspect, right? You have to really shrink that part. If there is a people pleasing aspect of yourself, you have to really step out, encourage. You have to just be okay with the fallout. Now, um, now you might be wondering to yourself, like, what do you do in those situations where people are just manipulators and they're just using these fear tactics and these obligation ploys and guilt ploys and all of this stuff? They're shaming you, right? What do you do in those situations? So one, you have to be okay with exercising your boundaries, right? I also tell people you don't owe anyone any explanations, right? You don't have to justify yourself. If somebody just wants to borrow your house for a week, do you have to like give them a reason and say, no, actually, my kids are here from this time to this time. I don't think it would be a good way for you to stay over at this time. No, you don't have to say that. You could just say, no, that's not going to work for me. Try again another time, right? That's all you have to say. Now, the thing that you want to also do, and this was a big shift for me, and this was only in the last year that this shift has happened for me, is I have people in my life who do see me in a certain way as just somebody who gives, and gives, and they themselves are takers. They themselves are people who just see me as a empty resource, like as a full resource that I can just borrow this person's network, I can just borrow this person's resources, I can borrow this person's car and borrow this person's this and that and this and that. And before you know it, I am depleted. One of the things you have to do for yourself is fill your own cup and protect your cup. Your cup is your emotional bank of resources, right? Like this is how you feel about yourself. If you feel depleted, there's a chance that somebody is siphoning that energy from you by just nagging at you, or maybe they're asking too much of you, or maybe they're just too in your business, or maybe they're just constantly being negative around you, right? This is why I said earlier in the video, protect your circle. Be careful of who you speak to and what you share with them, because not everybody's your well-wishers, obviously. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you live in fear. You just cultivate a tribe, right? You cultivate a tribe of people that are on your same life path, and you share with them so that it fills your cup. When you share with people about your goals, your dreams, their aspirations, and it's draining you, there's a good likelihood there's an energy imbalance there, right? There's some sort of siphoning going on, or jealousy, hatred, comparison, what have you, right? I share with people primarily from the lens of motivation, right? I want to encourage people, uplift them, tell them and show them that this is possible. You can have these crazy financial breakthroughs, and it really does start in the mind, right? Now, I know not everybody believes that, and if I were to share that with somebody who doesn't share that value, who just thinks that woe is me, and like this is my situation, I was just born and cursed this way, and if I keep sharing uplifting things with them, and it's not in alignment with them, I'm just going to be draining myself because their negativity is just so, it's so adverse, it's so abrasive. And I don't need to do unnecessary work to do that when I already have goals and aspirations I should be expending my energy on, right? So this is why, if you get this idea, this will dramatically shift how you have boundaries with people. So please write this down. You want to shift your frame to one of unlimited resourcefulness. You want to shift your frame to one of unlimited resourcefulness. Unlimited resourcefulness. So what does that actually mean? So you might tend to hear all these motivational tapes on, abundance and freedom from lack and scarcity, and you want to just step into abundance, step into a prosperity, step into wealth. Well, yes, you do, right? But what do you do about toxic people now? Toxic people can look at you and just say, hey, Manoj is abundant. Let me just go borrow money from him because that's the right thing to do. He's a Christian. He should just give me that money. Hey, Manoj should do this. This is the right thing to do. Just give me this thing because he's my nephew. That's the right thing to do for your uncle. Hey, Manoj is here. This is the right thing to do. He should do this because he's a coach and he always talks about paying it forward. He'll just have to pay it forward when I take his home, right? So what I want you to do is shift your mindset to one of unlimited resourcefulness, meaning you are unlimited in your resourcefulness, but you also have to view the world as unlimited in their resourcefulness. So what does that mean? Think about that one for a second. Ponder on that. Really take inventory of what it would look like if that energy vampire, that manipulator, that person who keeps trying to take your time, take your energy, take your resources, take your finances away from you. Maybe it's this, that stingy client, or maybe it's that person who just feels very entitled. What would it look like to say, no, you are a very resourceful person. I have full faith in your abilities. And I look forward to seeing how you're going to overcome this. What would that look like? I had to do that this week with somebody in my life who I've looked up to for a long time, and I felt very uncomfortable doing it because fear, obligation, guilt, shame, all of that stuff was there. The victim mentality stuff, all of that was there. I was putting myself in their shoes, right? Empathy can be a very, very powerful tool for discernment, right? It can be a very, very powerful tool for intuition. However, when you're around manipulators, it's okay to dial back the empathy. It's okay to dial back the empathy because some of us, we empathize too much. We put ourselves in other people's shoes and they take advantage. So I shut this down and I just said, look, you're an entirely resourceful person. I know that you're more than capable of doing this. So I look forward to seeing how you overcome this. And it shut the person down and they had to figure it out on their own. And then they backpedaled a little bit and then tried to re-justify their ask. And then they were asking me for some resources on certain things. And I'm a genuinely caring and compassionate and generous person. But again, it has to come from a place of mutual respect, and it has to come from a place of mutual respect and appreciation. It has to come from a place of reciprocity. If we're in good standing with one another, I got your back, trust me. But if you're constantly leeching off of me, you're not getting my resources. Tough luck. So I had to do this. And then the person changed their ask and said, well, no, actually, I wasn't doing that, this or that. I wasn't asking for these reasons. And I said, okay, great. Have you asked anyone else? No. So what does that mean? In their mind, they are seeing you as their prime resource. They are not seeing themselves as resourceful. Do you get that? So I had to shift their context as they are resourceful. Knock it off. See yourself as resourceful. Problem solved, right? So realize that not everything is your problem to fix. And that's why when I work with clients, you may have heard me share this mantra that I share with people when they're going through situations with, maybe they're going through a breakup, maybe they're going through a divorce, maybe they're going through a split within the family, maybe they're going through something even harder, right? Like maybe their business just implodes and they have to part ways with their business partner, right? So some of the situations that you have to do is you're going to deal with situations where you're going to find people who are, maybe they're narcissistic, maybe they're a sociopath, maybe they have borderline personality disorder, maybe they're just takers, maybe they're lacking in empathy, right? With all of that, just remember this mantra: not my circus, not my monkeys. Not my circus, not my monkeys. Not my circus, not my monkeys. So what that means is everyone around me is resourceful. They're independent, they're empowered, and they're certainly capable of handling their own life situations, with or without me. So I have faith in their abilities, and I will give them support and encouragement in finding their way through life. But the resources, the time, the energy, that's not my circus and that's not my monkeys. So I hope this video has been a blessing to you. Please give me feedback. Please give me comments. Send me a message if this helped you. I look forward to seeing you in another video or another class very soon. Cheers.